At Raising Financial Freedom, we're on a mission to inspire and empower financial freedom to every parent so that they can pass it along to their children. Through engaging stories, expert advice, and actionable tips, our podcast is transforming lives and helping listeners take control of their financial futures. Your support helps us produce high-quality, impactful episodes, expand our reach to underserved communities, and keep this life-changing content free for everyone. Whether it's $5, $10, or any amount, every donation fuels our mission and makes a difference. You can donate by clicking the heart-shaped link next to the social icons or the link at the bottom of the show notes. Once again, thank you for supporting Raising Financial Freedom and joining us in creating a world where financial freedom is within everyone's reach. Together, we can make a difference.
We are back, and what do you know? It's summertime. Time for beaches, pool parties, barbecues, and summertime parties. So yeah, we are here, and hopefully this will be a much better summer compared to as last time. So now my guest this week bring up a good topic when I was talking to him, and that's compound interest. That is one thing I don't think we've talked a lot about on this show, but I'm pretty much sure we mentioned it already. But compound interest, I would say this is more of an intermediate level of teaching about money when it comes to compound interest. But still, you got to know it. We are going to learn about compound interest and the book, Thoughts on Things Financial by Robert Schulz. Now, Robert is coming out of Texas, and he is the founder and president of Schulz Wealth Ltd. Me and Robert definitely had an interesting conversation, and he definitely stirred up food for thought. So let's get into it in
10, 9, 8. Come on, Dad. Stop playing around and play the music.
Sheesh, tough crowd.
Have you ever wondered why some people seem to have it all financially? Do well-off parents simply hand their children money? Or is there more to this wealth thing? Welcome to Raising Financial Freedom, the podcast. We are here to talk about everything you never knew to teach your children when it comes to starting their financial future. The principles behind wealth and methods that are out there to teach your child about personal financial freedom. There is no real trick to earning other than learning. We are here to discuss, teach, and grow with you. Raising Financial Freedom, the podcast, with your host and concerned parent, Eric Yard. Let us get right into today's show.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Raising Financial Freedom. Today, I have Robert Schulz with me. Robert, how are you doing today?
Hey, Eric, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on today.
So let's get right into it, Robert. I read your book and it was a very good read. Talk about a situation that happened with me when I was young. So when I was young, I got into college and I started with debt. I got a credit card. I started with more debt with interest on that. I got a car, more debt with interest on that. So I call that basically compounded debt. But when you grew up, your father told you about compounded interest and taught you about it. Why is that not taught to us?
I don't know. I really don't. I think that my dad taught me that because I think he learned it somewhat the hard way, but then also he had been in the financial industry. He had been a stockbroker at Smith Barney for the first part of his career. So he understood it, and he wanted to share that with me. And I think I get asked sometimes, well, should we teach that in school? How are we going to get that to our kids? And I don't know. I don't have control over what the schools teach, but I do have control over what I teach my kids. And my kids understand that story. And I think it's our responsibility as parents to...
What part do your kids really hang on to that your father asked?
Every kid is different, right? I have 4, and they're also different. And they're different in the way they save, they spend. They're different in the priorities they have with their money. So I would say each one of them has probably pulled away a different part to it. Fortunately, at least to my knowledge, overshadowing debt has not played a role, especially in my adult children. And I have two that are still in college. And I think maybe the part that I hope that it conveys to them is that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And that's what I'm seeing a lot right now. It's really cool to see so many young people investing right now. We just through Robinhood and things like that. But a lot of them are looking for that really quick hit. They want to buy GameStop, they want to buy Bitcoin, and then they want to sell it at the end of the day or the end of the week for a whole lot of money. And what I hope that my kids and the people that read my book and the people who are trying to get better financially understand is that it's a long-term deal. And having compound debt or compound interest, doesn't matter which one it is, it takes a while for that to happen. And it's habit forming, and you have to give that compounding time to work. You need to have some patience.
Definitely, you have to have some patience.
Yeah.
With your book, Thoughts on Things Financial, what is the main point you would like people to get out of this book?
Wow. The main point I would like people to get out of this book is you do not have to be an expert in finance or have a financial mind or love finance to be personally financially successful. It just takes some real basic understanding and good habits.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. When you were growing up, your father passed on things to you that kids are not doing today. Can you tell us about some of the things that he passed on to you that really helped you?
Yeah, and you were referencing a while ago that story that's a beginning of one of the chapters where I talk about the time value of money and how my dad taught me what that is and took a calculator and showed me. He made me actually press the buttons in there. And if you're going to teach that to a child, you could do it exactly the way he did. You just say, hey, of course, I think you read it in the story. I went to him with that great question, that all of our kids had. Hey, are we rich? Are we millionaires? And he kind of dodged the question a little bit. And then I was like, no, I really want to know. And then he said, if you want to have $1 million, here's how you do it over time. If you take this amount of money per year and you put it away at 6%, it'll become $1 million by the time you're this age. And then he showed me the compounding on a calculator where, you just take $2,000 times 1.06 times 1.06 times 1.06, and you just compound it over time. And showed how that money could grow. I think that we could all do that with our kids and show them how compounding works. Another way that's not in the book that I used with my kids, I should have put it in there, is I would try to encourage my kids to save by matching their funds that they put in a savings account. I don't know if y'all talked about that before, but that can work really well. They have their Christmas money, let's say, maybe they have $100. You would say, I know you want to go do something cool with some of that, but any of it that you don't spend, if you put it in the savings account, I'll match it. So if you put $50 in there, I'll put another 50 and it'll be 100. How cool would that be? And that can teach them about that delayed gratification, of, okay, if I give up spending on this now, I'll have a lot more later. And that helps teach it as
It's so hard to teach that because the society that we live in is just buy now, buy now, buy now, now. And we as people need to understand that we have to have a budget. And I don't think that's properly conveyed at a young age. So as you're talking about with your kids right now, what type of games do you play with them? Because we all know that games is a good tool to teach money.
Sure. They're all a little bit older. We don't play as many different games as we used to. Good old fashioned Monopoly. That's a great game where I think that you can learn a good lesson about making decisions with money and having consequences. Basically the way we normally try to teach kids about money is with an allowance. And I have a different take than a lot of people on an allowance. I personally don't like it when we use it as a controlling mechanism or as a reward for doing chores at the house. I personally think that that's all of us. That just should be expected. It's not something that we have to pay each other for. I think an allowance is really a great tool for just teaching some of these basics about money and letting your child start making some decisions on their own about how to spend it. And a lot of times we short circuit that as parents because we want to control them so much. And we'll say, I'm going to give you this money. Let's say a new 16-year-old driver. I'm going to give you this money and you can only spend it on gas. And I want you to give me and then the classic, I need you to give me the change, right? I think it's better if you say, hey, I want you to put together a budget of what you think you need for the month for your expenses. And I'm going to give that to you. And then you can figure out and decide how you spend it on those things. But I'm not going to bail you out if you spend it all blowing money on clothes and going out with your friends and you don't have any gas halfway through the month.
I hear you on that. I definitely hear you on that. One thing I want to know, Robert, is what age should a child start investing? Or better yet, what age should a parent start investing for the child?
I see those as two different questions. I'd say as far as your child starting to invest and starting to use and make decisions about money, probably when they start showing an interest in things and in money, which could be different ages for different. I would say that encouraging them to open a savings account is a great first start. I remember opening my savings account at City National Bank in Taylor, Texas, and my dad sent me down there. And it was a really cool experience. Giving your kids some experiences like that as soon as they start showing interest would be great. As far as saving for your kids, as trying to be financially successful ourselves, I think we just need to continually be saving for all different sorts of goals at the same. So the earlier, the better. Certainly for things like college and things like that. That time value money works better earlier, so you can start as soon as possible.
All right. When did you realize that you had a passion for?
I knew I was good at it when I was in college because I didn't really know what to major in. My dad had been an accounting major, so I was like, that's what I signed up for. I didn't really want to be an accountant. I was actually in Navy ROTC. That's what I did, and I found that it came really easy for me for whatever reason. For my youngest daughter, biology comes really easy for her. I hated biology. I didn't understand any of it, but I understood accounting, debits, credits, financial statements, things like that. And then when I got in the Navy, I guess I had a different perspective maybe than some of the other folks because most of them were engineers. And I had my sailors in my division who were challenged financially a lot of the time. They just didn't get paid very much. They had families they were trying to take care of. And I found myself using those talents to help them and to guide them and to advise them while I was in the Navy. And so when I got out, I was like, I liked that. I think I want to do that. So that's the course that I took going forward is I started to work on trying to become a financial.
What does it feel like when you help a client reach their goals?
Oh, it's great. I think that's why I love what I do is because that feeling of helping somebody achieve something and to be a part of their success is just exhilarating for me. It feels great. We, in the book and in our strange language that we use here at Schultz, we have a term it's calling it. And we'll call it when a client has gotten to that point where they could retire that day. And they have enough money to sustain themselves all the way through to the rest of their lives. And that's an exciting day. Think about it. If you could get to a point where you're working and you have a great career and all that, if things really turn bad, you don't have to be there anymore. That's just a great amount of freedom.
It definitely is when the day comes. And when you know the exact day it's going to happen. So yeah, I would say so. And you say you guys call it day, I guess.
Yeah. Say we're calling it. Okay, they'll come in for meetings like, all right, I think we're going to call it because we're going to say that right now you're good. You are financially independent at this point right now. Whether you want to be or not, you can keep working. And most of them do because they enjoy what they're doing and they feel fulfilled. But they don't have to.
Knowing that, hearing the good that you're doing, I know that when it comes to money, there's some frustrating things that you see out of your clients. Tell me what are some of the things that really frustrate you?
things that frustrate me. My industry frustrates me sometimes because it's so complicated, so big, and quite frankly, it can be really hard to find good advice and to find what you're looking for to help with achieving financial security. I see a lot of clients that come in and they're unsure of who they're currently working with or what they're doing. And I'll look at it and I just shake my head because it's clear that there are a lot of traps out there where people will get into some things that have large surrenders to them that don't make them any money at all, had high commissions and different accounts where they're really going backwards when they did the right thing. They went to try to find somebody to help them and it didn't work out. I think that's something.
Yeah, let's go into that. What are some of the hidden pitfalls that you see that stop people from succeeding?
Sure. That's the thing. There's a little bit of a catch-22 there because one of the pitfalls is not seeking advice, is just trying to go it alone. And it may not necessarily be what you're really good at, and things just can drop by the wayside. In another case, people will just get busy, right? They're doing it on their own, and life gets in the way, and they're not in a proper process that's going to move them down the road towards what they need to achieve. And then when they go and seek advice, and they seek it from somebody who works for a really large firm and charges very high fees and commissions and so forth, and then they're going backwards. Then there's a whole lot of money that's being wasted there, and it's not necessarily going in the direction that's in their best interest as that. So those are some pitfalls that a lot of people fall into, is either they're not seeking advice, or when they do, they go a direction that doesn't get them where they need to be. I hear that all the time.
So your father talked to you about money. You talked to your kids about money. How can a parent who has fears of talking about money overcome with their kids? Introducing the Dollars and Cents Bundle. This isn't just another boring financial guide. It's your secret weapon for raising financially smart kids. Inside this bundle, you'll get 3 powerful tools to make money lessons a breeze. First up, a kid-friendly budget sheet. It's the perfect way to help your child track their money, build healthy habits, and get hands-on experience managing their earnings. Next, you'll unlock the guide Money Mavericks, bite-sized wisdom for busy parents. Think of it as your quick start playbook, packed with expert-backed tips to help you teach your kids about saving, spending, and everything in between. And finally, there's my favorite part, interactive digital flashcards. These are perfect for teaching core money concepts in a way that's fun, engaging, and memorable for the whole family. Here's the best part. The Dollars and Cents Bundle is completely free. Yep, free. All you have to do is sign up, and the tools are yours, delivered straight to your inbox. You owe it to your kids to give them the skills they need to succeed in life. The Dollars and Cents Bundle makes it simple, fun, and totally doable, no matter how busy you are. So, what are you waiting for? Make financial literacy a family adventure. Head over to show notes right now to grab your free Dollars and Cents Bundle link, or go to nurturingfinance.com and subscribe. Don't wait. Start your family's financial journey today.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, I think that's a big mistake that we all make. We don't want to talk truthfully with our kids, maybe even about some of the mistakes that we've made personally, because in their eyes, we're a little bit perfect sometimes, and we're not. And I think that to just let down your guard a little bit and let them know that about maybe some of the mistakes we've made. I think that's a good thing to do at some point. I think that another thing that we screw up is our kids have these hopes and dreams of what they want to achieve and what they want to do. And as parents, we want to give them all of that, right? I mean, that's, in some cases, there's nothing more that we want for them to have that. But realistically, there are some real financial restraints there or constraints with regard to, for instance, the cost of college and things like that. And I think we need to communicate that with them as well and make sure that they understand there may be some limitations to how much money is available for college. That super expensive private school, it just may not be feasible unless these certain conditions are met and some of it is paid for via scholarship or something like that. Because the last thing that you want is for them to have these big hopes and dreams and they get into a school, you struggle to be able to make sure that they can stay there financially.
So let's talk about what can a parent, other than a savings account, what can a parent do in order to start their child investing on the right path, I would say?
Yeah, as far as the kids' money, you mean, or money that the parents are saving for? Like,
I would say the kids' money itself.
Like that.
Maybe the
kids' money itself. I think a savings account is a great place to start, really do. And then from there, a checking account. Go ahead and while they're in your house, get them set up where they have their checking and their savings account, and they're using both of those properly, which in my opinion, the right way to use them is the checking account goes from something to almost zero every month. You never try to put money in your checking account that you're trying to save. And then you have an automatic drip of money that you're always trying to drop into the savings account to build it up for emergencies and opportunities. And then you have a target goal that you're shooting for, or target range for that amount. So you start there, you start filling up that savings account bucket. And then once that savings account gets up to a decent protected level, you can start siphoning money from there over into an investment. What they should do is have regular incremental amounts going into that savings account to build it up to a target level. And they can come up with that. It should be a level for them, just like for us, to maybe take care of things that aren't necessarily monthly that may come up. Like for me, I have to pay my property taxes at the end of the year. So I need to save up the money for that. Save up money for tires for the truck, whatever it may be. And then once they hit that target level on their savings account, that's when I think they can start investing. And they should invest in the same way that we all should invest. And that means fully diversified for the long term. And I probably made a mistake here with some of my kids is because they were interested in wanting to do some individual stocks. And I let them do that. And it turned out to be like no fun at all, as it would be for any of us, because those things are so volatile. They move around. You put real money into them that you care about, and
even the companies
things happen. So I would set them up with a Betterment account or some type of account that automatically gets fully invested and diversified across everything, so they can start saving for the long term and investing for the long term.
Yeah, it does.
Does that make sense?
What about the companies that, that they use every day? They didn't like any of those stocks like Nike or Netflix or anything? They didn't like anything like?
I mean, they did. They picked out, like my daughter picked out an energy stock. It ended up being pretty volatile. I thought she did a good job trying to pick it out. The problem is that unless you're going to have a good basket of minimum 30, 40, 50 stocks, then your investment is up to some things that you have absolutely no control over, because one stock, anything can happen to it, within its industry, within its individual company. And so when we manage money for the long term, we try to diversify it as much as we can. Unless you have a whole lot of money to start with, it's hard to do it with individual stocks.
I see. Your book, Thoughts on Things Financial. Can you tell me 3 good gems out of that you really like?
Yeah, I think one is automating. Just try and make life easy on yourself. Make sure that you're not having to actively make a decision every month to save, that you just automatically have money that's getting sent over into savings and into your retirement account. So you don't have to think about it, and it just happens. That's one key gem, I would say. Another one in the book that gets overlooked because it's the not exciting chapter, but the one on insurance.
Life insurance.
Man, as a parent with kids, make sure you have life insurance. Okay? Make sure you have life insurance. Just go buy it. It's not hard. It's not expensive. Go buy some term insurance and be done with it. If you really want to get into it and see all the differences between all the different types, you can read the book. It will just make sure that you're covered. That's the second thing. And probably the third gem is just to be patient. A lot of people starting out saving, they get frustrated because they just don't see anything happening on the front end. And that's because the time value of money, and the magic of it is it compounds over time. That means that the curve of your money increasing in value over time, it increases incrementally with how much money you actually have. Okay. But the key is that you have to start somewhere. And that means that you start at zero and you let it accumulate over time. And that period of time from when you go from zero money to, let's say, 100,000 is just as important as maybe later when you go from 1 million to 2 million. Okay. Because you can't get to 1 million to 2 million unless you start at zero and get to 100,000
right
first.
I believe in that one, definitely. What is the one people don't realize about money?
I think something that they don't realize about it is that probably it's not as, I think the thing that people don't realize, it's probably not as important as a lot of us. And I know that's silly to say, but it's so true because we're going to make what we make. Okay. And if we can learn to live within our means at some level below that, we're good. And it's really, that's fine. And you don't have to worry about it. A lot of times we make it out to be so much more important than it really is. And if we have an attitude of that this isn't the most important thing in my life and I just need to be responsible about it, it seems to work out.
See, other than your book, what resources would you recommend to parents to learn about money and pass it on to their children?
Yeah, some other resources. I would say that read the book and get your base level of knowledge. I would recommend that. And then from there, you can use the internet and and read different things about some of the areas that you really want to dive into and get information from all sorts of resources, I would say. And then you can also find people that you can talk to. Like, for instance, find a good advisor, a good insurance agent that you can trust and things like that. And then just start continuing to add on the base that you have with all the many resources I think we have everywhere.
I like when you was talking in your book, how you refer to how life could be one of the bad guys in the room. Can you explain a little bit on that?
Oh, sure. I guess you could, sometimes it pays off when you're trying to be financially successful to be a little bit of a pessimist from time to time. Put your pessimist hat on is a term I use there as well, and start looking for what could go wrong. And that's where you start getting into making sure you have adequate insurance coverage. That's where you get into making sure you have adequate savings. And that's where you get into making sure that you're not taking too much risk in your investments. Because that bad guy, he will away from you in a hurry if you don't pay attention to the what ifs, what could happen, and just assume that everything's going to be okay.
Definitely. The what ifs is a pain in the neck. And
it is. It's no fun. It's just risk management is what we call it. And it's so boring and we just hate it. We don't like to think about it, but it's crucial that we think that way from time to time.
Personally, what are your thoughts on starting a Roth IRA for your children?
I love it. Roth IRAs are fantastic compounding tools because the money that you put in is taxable when you put it in, but then the return is tax-free. So the younger you are with a Roth, the more incredibly accelerating the compounding can be. So I love it. And the trick, though, is that the child has to have some kind of earned income to be able to make a contribution to a Roth. So you'll have to figure that part out. They'll have to have a job of some type of income to be able to put it away. Or if you're self-employed, you can pay your child, which is a really neat concept. You can pay him. You can deduct what you pay him as a business owner, and they can put it in a Roth, and that's insane. That's fantastic.
Wow, that sounds good.
Yeah,
that sounds real good. Robert, thank you for joining us. How can we continue this conversation with you, and let us know what future projects you have going on?
Yeah. Thanks, Eric. I write all the time. You can go on to my website, Schultz Wealth, and you can read on some different topics that I can expand on. You can always I'm pretty easy to contact. You just do that through the website as well. You can set up a call with me if you just want to talk about some stuff. I'm happy to do that. And I have a Facebook group called Thoughts on Things Financial. So if you go into Facebook, I'll let you into the group. And that's a wonderful place where I try to put some resources out there and talk and take surveys. It's just a good, safe place for us to talk about this kind of stuff. And that's worked out really well. Those are some great ways to get in contact with me. My newest project, writing a book is really hard, but it's fun and rewarding too. So I have a new book and a new project I'm working on that's geared more towards business owners and transition. That's a very complicated way to retire, having to sell a business. And so my next book is about how to do that effectively.
All right. That sounds great. Once again, Rob, I would thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, hey, it was great to be here. Thanks for having me, Eric. Love what you're doing, trying to get knowledge out there to parents so that we can all raise our kids in a financially sound way. It's awesome.
I want to thank Robert one more time for coming out on the show. And man, that book definitely have a lot of intermediate and advanced levels about money. The book is definitely one of those books where you have to fold in a couple of pages in so you could come back to it for reference. But what I've taken out of that interview and by reading the book also is that teach your child everything that you can. Teach them everything that you can, because what is advanced now or intermediate will be basic when it's their time when becoming a young adult. So definitely the more they know, the better off that they will be. As always, I would like for you to share with other parents. Tell other parents about this show and tell anyone else who's interested in teaching children about money, financial literacy, and all things around that. Until next time, stay safe.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Raising Financial Freedom, the podcast. Stay connected with us directly through raisingfinancialfreedom.com. You can also join the discussion on social media, which you can also find links on our website. If you would like to speak with us, please send us an email through info@raisingfinancialfreedom.com. And as always, thank you for pushing your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to please like and subscribe to stay fully up to date. Until next time, be kind to yourself and each other.
Before you go, I wanted to tell you about a new option called Fan Mail, which uses text messaging to give our listeners the ability to text our show directly. There is a link in every episode at the top that will say, "Send us a text." You can use that link to text the show. When a listener clicks the link in our episode description, a new text message will open on your device directly to the show. It's that easy. So tell me what you think, what else you want to hear out of the show, or simply your thoughts on that episode you just heard.